Imagine getting fired for not wearing a safety harness.
Yeah.
But, you swear up and down that there wasn't even a place to hook the thing.
Oh, wow.
Fair or not.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Okay.
A Philippine Supreme Court case.
Yeah, right.
Domingo Gimalay versus the Court of Appeals.
Interesting.
It's a real nail-biter.
Okay.
All about workers' rights, and safety, and whether the company, actually played by the rules or not.
Yeah, what makes this case particularly interesting is that it wasn't like a clear-cut victory for either side, in the lower courts.
Right.
It really highlights how tricky these situations can be with all the gray areas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To set the scene, Gimalay was a mechanical technician for Granite Services International. They're, a big player in the industry. And Gimalay worked on projects both here in the Philippines and abroad. Yeah. But there's a twist to his employment. He received a monthly retainer fee, even when he wasn't actively working on a project overseas.
Oh, that's unusual.
Yeah.
Most employees are either on active duty or completely off the payroll.
Yeah.
This detail about his retainer fee, I think that becomes really important later on. So let's just kind of keep that in mind as we go forward.
Good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Gimalay was sent to Ghana for a 2-month contract, earning a salary of $900 per month.
Okay.
Seems like a good deal, right?
Yeah.
But things went south quickly.
Oh.
He was accused of 3 safety violations.
Uh-oh.
Which the company then claimed justified his termination.
And these alleged violations, I mean, they are pretty serious, on the surface, like standing on a compressor casing instead of using the designated platform, unclear communication with a crane operator that almost caused an accident, and working on a turbine without a safety harness.
Yeah, if these accusations are true, it does sound like Gimalay was playing fast and loose with safety protocols.
Yeah.
But, when you dig into the evidence that the company presented, things get a little bit murky.
Okay.
It's more he said, she said, especially with the first incident.
Okay.
The only things the company had were an email from Gimalay's supervisor and the termination letter itself.
Huh. That does raise eyebrows,
Yeah.
You'd think a company would have more concrete evidence if they're going to, fire someone for such serious violations.
Right.
It makes you wonder if they did a proper investigation or if they just, jumped to conclusions.
Exactly. And the second incident with the crane, it seems like there could have been multiple factors at play, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the crane operator misheard Gimalay. Maybe there was a mechanical issue with the equipment.
Right.
Who knows? The point is, the company didn't seem interested in digging deeper to find out, what really happened.
Yeah, that lack of a thorough investigation, that's definitely a red flag,
Right.
It almost makes you wonder if they were, looking for a reason to get rid of him.
Yeah.
And they just latched on to these incidents.
Now, the third incident, the safety harness issue.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting. Gimalay claims that there was literally nowhere to attach the harness. The company, of course, says that there was.
Right.
But if that's the case, why didn't they provide any photographic evidence? A picture would have been worth 1,000 words in this situation.
That's a great point. The absence of strong visual evidence from the company, that's kind of a recurring theme in this case, Yeah. And it definitely weakens their position and suggests that they weren't very meticulous in how they handled this whole situation.
So you've got these 3 accusations.
Right.
With questionable evidence backing them up.
Yeah.
Let's see how the legal system tackled this hot potato.
First up, the labor arbiter sided with Gimalay, declared the dismissal illegal, and awarded him back pay and separation pay. A clear win for the employee.
So this initial victory, it suggests that the labor arbiter wasn't really convinced by the company's, kind of flimsy evidence.
Yeah.
And probably saw some holes in how they, handled the termination process.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
The case then goes to the NLRC,
right,
the National Labor Relations Commission. They uphold the illegal dismissal ruling, which is great for Gimalay.
Yeah.
But then they throw in a curveball.
Oh.
They decide to use his higher Ghana salary to calculate the back pay.
Wow.
Talk about a sudden windfall for Gimalay.
Now, this is where that unusual detail about his retainer fee comes back to, kind of haunt the company a little bit.
Right.
Remember, he was getting paid a lower retainer fee even when he wasn't on, an international assignment.
The NLRC basically said that since he was a regular employee, regardless of where he was working, they had to factor in his overseas salary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The company probably didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
So they're hit with a much larger back pay obligation than they, anticipated.
Right.
But the story doesn't end there.
Oh, no.
The case then escalates to the Court of Appeals.
Okay.
And things take a dramatic turn. Okay, so we left off with the case reaching the Court of Appeals.
Right.
This is where the company thought they might finally get, some relief.
You think so? Yeah.
Especially with the NLRC hitting them with that hefty back pay calculation.
Mm-hmm.
But the Court of Appeals did something truly unexpected. They completely flipped the script, siding with the company and declaring that the dismissal was valid due to Gimalay's misconduct.
Huh.
Wow. Talk about a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
So the company was off the hook for that larger back pay amount.
For the moment, yeah.
At least for the moment.
The Court of Appeals seems to have, put more weight on the company's claims about the safety violations.
Right.
Maybe viewing them as serious enough to justify the termination.
Right.
But here's the catch. They also acknowledged that Gimalay was denied due process.
Okay.
So they awarded him nominal damages for that.
Wait, so they agreed with the company that firing Gimalay was okay.
Right.
But they still faulted them for, how they did it.
Yeah.
That's a bit confusing, isn't it?
It might seem that way. But this is where the legal concept of due process gets really important,
Okay.
It basically means that even if an employee ultimately did something wrong,
right,
the employer can't just fire them, on the spot. You know what I mean? There are procedures that have to be followed to make sure everything is fair and transparent.
Okay, so it's even if you're guilty, you still deserve a fair trial. You can't just be thrown in jail without proper legal proceeding.
Exactly. And in the workplace, that fair trial involves something called the twin notice rule.
Twin notice rule. What's that all about?
Okay, so it's a crucial protection for employees. It basically means the employer has to give a written notice,
okay,
outlining the specific infractions that an employee is accused of.
Right.
They can't just say hey, you messed up. It has to be clear and it has to be in writing.
Got it.
And then secondly, the employee has to be given a genuine chance to explain their side of the story.
Okay.
In a formal setting.
So it's not enough to just have a casual conversation where the boss is like, I heard you did this. And the employee is like, no, I didn't.
No. It has to be, more structured than that.
Okay.
The twin notice rule basically ensures that everything is documented and that the employee has a real opportunity to defend themselves.
Right.
It, it protects them against arbitrary decisions.
Right.
And it ensures a more balanced, process.
This is where I think this case gets really valuable for anyone listening, whether you're an employee or a manager.
Yeah.
It's a practical lesson, how to handle disciplinary actions, the right way. Documentation is key.
Absolutely, yeah. If it's not in writing, it's it never happened.
Right.
And this applies to both sides,
Yeah.
Employees should document their work, any communications they have with their supervisor, performance reviews, anything that can help them, kind of build a case if they ever need to.
Right.
And then employers need to be meticulous
yeah.
about documenting incidents, investigations, all communications related to disciplinary actions. Just, cover your bases.
So going back to the Court of Appeals decision,
yeah,
they acknowledged that, Gimalay's rights were violated in this regard, even while upholding the company's right to fire him. It's they were saying you can fire him, but you have to do it the right way.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah.
And that nominal damages award, even though it was a small amount, it sends a clear message to the company.
Right.
And to other employers that, procedural fairness matters.
Yeah.
It might seem like a minor detail.
Right.
But it can have a big impact on a company's, reputation and how they're perceived.
Yeah. It's like a slap on the wrist saying, you got away with it this time, but don't do it again.
Exactly. And it reinforces the idea that the law is there to protect employees from being treated unfairly, even when they might have, made mistakes.
Right.
It's all about making sure that, the process is just and transparent.
Okay, so we've got this crazy back and forth between the lower courts.
Yeah.
The labor arbiter sides with Gimalay. The NLRC upholds that decision, but throws in the curveball with the higher back pay.
Uh-huh.
Then the Court of Appeals reverses it, but still finds that the company, messed up the process.
Right.
It's like a legal ping pong match.
It really does. And it highlights how complex these cases can be, with all the different perspectives and the evidence and the laws and everything.
Yeah.
But the story doesn't end there. It goes all the way up to the Supreme Court.
That's right. The Supreme Court, the final word, the ultimate decider.
So what happened when Gimalay's case reached the highest court in the land?
Yeah.
What did they make of all this conflicting evidence and back and forth rulings? All right, so the stakes are high.
Yeah.
The case has reached the Supreme Court, the final battleground for Gimalay and Granite Services International. What happened?
Well, the Supreme Court, they did something pretty remarkable.
Huh?
They actually sided with Gimalay.
Wow.
Reversing the Court of Appeals decision and reinstating that finding of illegal dismissal.
A major victory for Gimalay.
Yeah.
So they agreed that the company didn't have enough evidence to prove those safety violations. That's right. The Supreme Court just wasn't convinced by the company's claims, especially considering, the lack of solid evidence that we talked about. They kind of saw through the flimsy documentation.
Right.
And the whole he said, she said nature of the accusations.
So what did this mean for Gimalay in practical terms?
Yeah.
What kind of compensation did he actually receive after this long legal battle?
Well, he was awarded back pay, calculated from the date of his dismissal, up until the Supreme Court's decision became final.
Right.
He also received separation pay, starting from when he became a regular employee with the company.
Right.
And then, of course, he got his attorney's fees covered.
That's a pretty significant win, especially considering that he was, fighting a huge international company.
Right.
It shows that even if the system, seems stacked against you, justice can prevail.
It really is a testament to the idea that everyone deserves a fair hearing, no matter, what their position is or who they're going up against. And it really underscores the importance of, having strong legal representation to help you navigate these really complex situations.
But remember that curveball the NLRC threw with the back pay calculation using his higher Ghana salary.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did the Supreme Court stick with that?
Well, there's a bit of a twist there.
Okay.
The Supreme Court ultimately decided to use his Philippine retainer fee.
Oh.
Not the Ghana salary, to calculate the back pay. And they basically reasoned that, well, his contract in Ghana was complete.
Right.
So that higher salary wasn't relevant anymore.
It's interesting. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But it also seems a bit unfair to Gimalay.
Right.
He was clearly earning a lot more in Ghana, and that dismissal, cost him that income.
Yeah, that's where things get tricky. I mean, this decision could have implications for other employees who are, working on international assignments.
Right.
It suggests that companies might be able to exploit loopholes, by offering low retainer fees in the home country, but then paying much higher salaries, abroad, knowing that they could use that lower amount for back pay if a dispute arises.
That's a sobering thought. It highlights the need for greater clarity and protection for employees, who were in these types of arrangements. This case definitely raises some important questions about the complexities of, international employment contracts and how those are handled legally.
Absolutely. And it really underscores the importance of, carefully reviewing and understanding the terms of your employment contract, no matter where you're working.
Yeah. So looking back at this whole saga, what's the big takeaway for our listeners? What should they keep in mind, especially, if they ever find themselves in a similar situation?
I think there are a few key things to remember. First, documentation is your best friend. Keep detailed records of your work, communications, anything that could be relevant if a dispute arises.
Right. Because as we saw in Gimalay's case, the company's lack of, strong evidence ultimately worked against them.
Exactly. Second, never underestimate the importance of due process. If you're, facing accusations, don't just stay silent. Make sure you're given, proper written notice, and take the opportunity to present your side of the story in a formal setting.
And having a good lawyer on your side can make all the difference, right?
Yeah.
Someone who knows the ins and outs of employment law and can really, fight for your rights.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to seek legal counsel if you feel you've been treated unfairly. It's your right, and it can really make a huge impact on the outcome of your case.
This deep dive into Gimalay's story has been a real eye-opener.
Yeah.
It shows that even in seemingly complex and daunting, legal battles, justice can prevail.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have rights, and that the system, while imperfect, is designed to protect those rights. It's also kind of a call to action for both, employees and employers.
Yeah.
To be more aware, more proactive, and more committed to creating a fair and just workplace for everyone.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of employment law. We hope you found it informative and empowering.
Yeah, remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand your rights and the complexities of the legal system, the better equipped you'll be to navigate any challenges that might come your way.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into fascinating legal cases.
Yes.
And let us know in the comments if there are any, topics you'd like us to explore in future episodes. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious.